Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Search Sessions is a bi-weekly show that we're hosting during the COVID-19 pandemic to help businesses and our community best position themselves for success during and after the crisis. We host this every other Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain and bring on industry experts and thought leaders to provide business advice and guidance during these times. And every week, our brilliant leaders at Boostability provide weekly SEO advice and tips for how you can optimize your SEO. This week, we have an amazing global panel today. We'll be covering how COVID-19 is causing rapid digital acceleration in markets all around the world. Challenged with these changes, SMBs have had to conduct business in new environments, such as socially distanced worlds, and SMBs have had to go digital to survive. Today, we'll be hearing from top thought leaders about how SMBs in their markets had to pivot business strategies to survive and thrive in this new normal. We're thrilled to have Kimberli Lewis, General Manager and Board Member at Siinda in Germany and the European Union here. Kimberli, we're so excited to have you. Miguel Angel Vives Garcia, VP of Product and Development at ADN Sección Amarilla in Mexico, and Byron Moorga, CEO at Always Innovative in South Africa. And I'm Amanda Price, VP of Marketing here at Boostability and your host. So let's jump in. In today's agenda, we're going to start with introductions, and then we're going to dive into exploring the global perspective and digital acceleration in e-commerce around the world. We're going to hear from Kimberli at Siinda about critical data on SMEs in Europe during COVID-19, talking about technology and digital marketing acceleration. Then we're going to dive in with Miguel about ADN and Sección Amarilla, looking at digital acceleration, new demand, and e-stores in Mexico. And then we're going to be talking to Byron about Always Innovative and the rise of e-commerce in South Africa. Then we'll wrap up with some phenomenal, actionable SEO strategies from Boostability and how to rank for international SEO in the business of understanding how to rank globally. We'll then dive into Q&A, and if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please drop them into the Q&A section, and then Christine Pratt, our show producer and head of content, will cue them, and then we'll get to them right at the end. And then don't forget to tune in next time. We have Google here, and we'll be talking about growing your website's earnings. So Boostability is the global leader in small business and partner-focused white label SEO. We offer affordable SEO specifically designed to meet the needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Our proprietary technology Launchpad tracks over 2.3 million keyword rankings per month, which enables us to make SEO decisions based on millions of bits of information. Not only that, but we serve customers and partners all around the world. We're in 15 countries, 9 languages, and are quickly expanding. We get 86% of our customers on page 1 of Google within 6 months and got 69,000 keywords on page 1 of Google in 2019 alone. Boostability is dedicated to helping small businesses succeed online. And we're thrilled to have Kimberli Lewis here from Siinda today. Kimberli is the General Manager and member of the board for Siinda. Kimberli has 18 years experience as a CEO in the directory, search, and online space, and 22 years in executive management. She has won over 29 international awards in marketing and product development as well. Kimberli also has graduate degrees from Webster University, George Washington, Harvard University, and the Henley Business School and at London Academy. And she's a member of the Forbes Coaches Council and the host of Leadership Beyond Borders on Voice America Internet Radio and Podcast. Kimberli, thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here, Amanda. Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you. And Siinda is Europe's fastest growing nonprofit association of companies that serve the SMB and enterprise community through providing a range of digital solutions from social media consulting to e-commerce and mobile solutions. Siinda is a European association, but has members from all around the world and serves members on 5 continents, providing services from market research to conferences and workshops. And Miguel is the VP of Product Development for ADN and Sección Amarilla, and is helping lead the digital transformation for the companies. They provide new digital services such as website development, e-commerce, paid advertising, SEO listings, and more to customers who use their print and yellow page directories. Miguel has been with Sección Amarilla since 1998, where he started leading a sales group selling print products. By 2000, he was promoted to launch and run the internet division for the company, providing websites and digital products to help customers get their business online. Since then, Miguel has been the pioneer leader, helping transform Mexico's largest and 100-year-old Yellow Page company into a leading digital marketing powerhouse for SMBs in Mexico. Miguel, we're so thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We're so excited to have you. And Sección Amarilla is Mexico's largest Yellow Page company with over 100 years in business. Sección Amarilla provides full range of multimedia products through its print, internet, and mobile media platforms. And ADN is a marketing agency within Sección Amarilla with diverse products for SMBs, such as websites, listings, digital marketing campaigns, social media, e-commerce, marketing strategies, and more to help drive results and ROI for customers. And our next guest is Byron. Byron is a top digital executive with more than 20 years experience of business collaborations across South Africa and the African continent. He has worked for multinational companies such as TomTom and Naspers. And Byron is the CEO at Always Innovative Solutions, helping publishing houses, digital agencies, and SMBs build their presence online and helping them strategically invest in the right digital partnerships, technologies, and products. Byron, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're thrilled. And Always Innovative is a leading digital marketing agency in South Africa, and their success is built on relationship with clients, not contractual obligations. Their staff has a passion for advertising and lead generation, and they focus on digital marketing solutions such as search engine optimization, Google My Business, Google Ads, animation, and more. And their goal is to help you and SMBs all around the world survive, thrive, and grow their businesses online. So today, as I mentioned, we have an amazing global panel. We are going to be talking about SMB digital marketing strategies and success stories of customers around the world as they were confronted in this new normal of a digital environment and the need to be able to conduct safe commerce from a socially distanced world. As we just did introductions, we have Kimberli, Miguel, and Byron here to talk about this, and we are going to dive in right now. So Kimberli, we're so excited to have you today. She's going to be taking us through some critical data that Siinda has compiled about SMBs in Europe. Kimberli, over to you.
Okay, thanks. The first thing I want to just remind everybody, because everybody thinks of Europe, and we are the European Union, but our markets are quite different. The market between the UK, Germany, Switzerland, Slovakia are very, very, very different. And when before we started looking into the COVID issue, we've done a lot of market research to see where we SMBs are in the digital landscape. And we did some research with Silk Tide, and we came up with that 60% to 80% of the SMBs, and excuse me if I say SME, because we say SME in Europe, and I might forget, so SME and SMB is the same thing. SMBs in Europe were really online already, okay? They had pretty predominant websites, and this might be relevant later when my two colleagues speak. But what we found is in their online presence and websites, they were lacking SEO, they were lacking backlinks, their loading times were bad. So they started with a digital presence. So as we came into COVID-19 and the lockdown, the other thing to remember about Europe is we went in very early, okay? We went in March, and the entire European Union, with the exception of Great Britain, who was later, really had a complete lockdown. And I took these statistics from the European Union. And if you take just a look at total retail trade, and you look at between April and May, it was only 9% of companies that were actually working and open during the February, March, April period. And that was because everything was in complete lockdown. Restaurants were locked down. We had only pharmacies, apothecas, and grocery stores available. Nothing else was available. Okay, then when we came into May in Germany, I'm talking about Germany, it started to open up, and we had about 13% availability. And Germany was very, very strict in their restrictions during COVID, and we're in the recovery rate of about 103%. So it's looking quite good. And why this is relevant, it's relevant to what the SMBs are doing. And if you look at France and you look in food and drinks, it's the same thing. Everything was shut down. In France, you had to have a paper to go out of the house to even go to the grocery store, okay? April and May, wow. They opened up a little bit. Yeah, they really did. To go to the grocery store, you had to have a certificate, okay? They opened up a little bit later in April and May, but the recovery in France is continuing, and it's at about 99%. And why this is important, if you think about how this affects SMBs, in Germany, there's 2.8 million SMBs, which really accounts for 1/2 the German GDP, 60% of the jobs, almost 37% of the corporate income, and 55% of contributing to lifestyle in Germany. And in France, there's 2.96 million SMBs. So this shutdown was a big, big hit. But remember, a lot of these SMBs, 60 to 80%, depending on the country, already had a digital presence, which comes to our next subject. So what we did is we took a look at some of the SMBs, and we're currently now doing another study to see the shift that happened between the 60 and 80% before COVID and what it looks like after. But in the meantime, while we're gathering that data, we went out and we actually talked to some SMBs to see exactly what was happening, how they felt. So we tried to cover, parts of Europe from France, and we actually looked at 2 SMBs and talked to 2 in the USA because we wanted to do a comparison of what was actually happening with SMBs. So what we found out from the SMBs, and I've just chosen the select few here that we did. So what we found out from the SMBs, if you can go to the next slide, okay, is, really what we recognize differences and is the industries that were really already quite digital, and we named some of those as real estate and printing, were quite a bit ahead in the digital push and didn't have as much impact. The ones that depended on foot traffic and who did not have business models because it was completely foot traffic, like health clubs and play services, were struggling. So the ones with the foot traffic were slower to adapt. But if they had a higher digital presence already, if they were in towards the 80% of those who had websites, then they were in a better place. What they were missing was the consultation, how to do SEO and how to do other things, okay? And most businesses, regardless if it's with foot traffic or without foot traffic, we're looking at new business models. We talked to a health club who immediately went into online, was one of the first health clubs to go into online exercise courses. So the Europeans jumped into new business models, but they weren't really sure how to implement them digitally. That was the biggest thing. They didn't have the understanding of the right thing to do, okay? So next slide. So this is where, they didn't know what the right thing to do, and this is where, we as digital agencies and we're an association of digital agencies, we have to focus on that and helping them. They did understand that, content was critical, but they didn't understand how that content related to SEO. They understood that opening hours were important as we started to, open back up, or as they had to have takeout services, but they weren't really sure how to implement that online. They knew they had to make it personal. This was quite a challenge for SMBs in Europe because we have a very strict privacy act. So mailing lists and GDPR was very, very difficult. Luckily, most of these SMBs, in the research we did, had already started their mailing lists beforehand because we've had GDPR for a couple of years now. So they've got permission and they were able to do direct mails, and they actually saw the value and holding on to that customer, because what they were seeing is new customer acquisition was very, very difficult. So the content was critical, the information on their customers was critical, and the contact. And then they found that personal videos and photos in the contact, whether it's direct mail or on their website or the Facebook page, made people feel like they were there. So what they did realize that, you know, the new customer was not growing, okay, unless they put e-commerce in. I'll come to that, okay? But it was really important to stay on retention during this time. Okay.
And Kimberli, in Europe, how do most people, like during this lockdown, connect with these businesses? Are they Googling them, or do people typically use social media more? How did the business, you know, understand which channel to put things on? And then where's the customer looking?
Yeah, and so I would say social media and websites, because don't forget they had 60-80% of the websites, okay?
Yeah.
And what these SMBs were doing is, as I said, they understood that retention was important. So they were doing direct mails, contacts, you know, and they understood that, you know, another mail with "we're all in this together," you know, would just get a click off. Okay. You know, I mean, more like my opening hours, I'm going to be providing services in May when we open up. You can make an appointment now. This was a beauty salon in Prague that did a lot of social media. I Am Coffee obviously didn't, it was a coffee shop that didn't open up, but they kept constant until after COVID, but they kept constant through Facebook and their website and direct mails. They kept constant contact with their customers. Now, that's for the continuous contact, Amanda. So what we saw was the biggest thing was they wanted to go into e-commerce, okay? And if we go to the next slide, and e-commerce was confusing because they didn't understand how to set up e-commerce, how they can actually ship, what is the e-commerce model, okay? Confusion between an e-commerce platform on their own platform and a marketplace, an affiliate marketing platform. So, you know, do I have a product that I can then put in the marketplace as well as my own platform, or do I have a service that has to go onto my own platform for e-commerce? The e-commerce space was very confusing for those who were not already in it. Okay.
Yeah. And this is such an interesting time, you know, and it's really neat to see this. You know, we kind of experienced the same thing in America, but businesses that didn't need certain things like e-commerce and, you know, these different digital platforms, suddenly everyone needed it immediately at once. And that hurdle of going, oh my goodness, I can no longer conduct business day to day with people in person. I need to transfer digital. It's like COVID has created this big digital acceleration faster than we've ever seen it. And it's playing out different in different markets. And, you know, in Europe, as you mentioned, 60% already have their websites. People kind of understand that they're doing the social marketing, but really it sounds like the e-commerce transformation that everyone suddenly said, goodness, if we want to do commerce, we need to get online and start selling online. But yeah, how do you do that?
And if you look at this, Shauna's Pet Shop, a Dublin company, online, you know, for their own customers, but, you know, they're going to need a bigger reach now. So
right.
do they actually go to a marketplace? How do they integrate a marketplace? You know, which marketplace they do? The margins are lower. You know, so these kind of questions are the kind of questions that they had if they already were getting into an e-commerce. If they didn't even have one, it was just, you know, what kind of platform? How do I do this? How do the payment gates work? Okay. You know.
And sometimes these challenges create new opportunities, which has kind of been a theme that we talk about on search sessions. And something that you made me think of is, I don't know Shauna's pet store, but I'm assuming that they probably served the local market primarily. But now with e-commerce, they could serve a much larger market set. And so it's challenging and scary to like get onto a new thing. However, this might be that kind of force majeure that opens up the ability for SMEs to start doing business differently and outside of just their local region. So that's like a little bit of a bright spot in the dark cloud, you know?
And I think the message here for us that are digital agencies is that, you know, as we go forward, we have to learn how to consult them with this, okay?
Yeah.
We need to understand, our sales representatives need to understand the difference between a marketplace and e-commerce platform. They have to understand what affiliate marketing is, okay? They have to understand what would be right for that customer, okay? So
Can you actually talk about the difference between a marketplace and e-commerce platform?
Well, this e-commerce platform is basically what's embedded, you know, into your system, and your customer orders directly for you. A marketplace is where, and I'll use Shauna's Pet Shop as an example. Shauna's Pet Shop has a contract with Amazon, and her products are on the Amazon marketplace. So if I'm looking for pet munchies in Dublin, okay, then I might get, you know, if I'm in the Dublin Amazon, I think it's IE website, then I put in Pet Munchies Dublin, I might get her shop, and I might buy it from her shop, or I might buy it from Amanda's shop, okay? So there's a great opportunity, but of course these marketplaces do take margins too. So actually we have Siinda did a really good webinar on the difference, if you want to refer to that, so I don't take too much time. But these are the things that we have to start to learn, and the things that we as digital agencies haven't really paid attention to be honest with you, because we're selling websites, okay, and SEO and other things.
Yeah, but, so there's a big industry shift for all of us. You know, the SMEs and the SMBs, they have new needs now, and we as an industry need to rise to help them because times have changed.
Yeah. And then we did see, just to continue on, and I don't want to take up too much time here on Europe, but we did see some great innovation. Suter Verlag in Germany they saw the need for some of their customers to be even faster with e-commerce, and they did an app for online shopping, and mostly for food and for food orders, and it's called Beste Local, and it was free. They gave it to their customers who wanted to get into e-commerce very quickly, free. And this shop, Lecker, is a very interesting restaurant that was completely shut down during COVID. They couldn't serve people in the restaurant because even with social distancing, it was too small. It was a gluten-free specialty restaurant. They immediately got it on the app. They kind of bypassed the whole e-commerce platform. Got it. They put one in. They got it onto the app because the mobile use in Europe is incredibly high. Okay. Yeah. They got it onto the app, so people could order. They could order on the app immediately. So we've seen some great innovation here from some of the companies here on help, reaching out and coming up with technology to help their customers make it faster. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Lecker got online, I think it was in a matter of days. Wow. And their orders just started going up and up. I did interview them. It's on Siinda. Unfortunately, it's in German. But there is a blog. Sorry, okay, but there is a summary blog that'll be posted this weekend if you want to read about what they said. So I think that's probably what we saw in Germany, Amanda, in Europe. Okay, and just a quick thing. I'm contacting you from Prague today. So Siinda is located. Our headquarters are in Switzerland. I'm located in Prague, in Germany. And we do cover, all our members are from all over Europe. So.
Well, I love this because, I think you brought up another good point that we haven't talked about enough here, which is speed. And, COVID-19 impacted the world so quickly, and businesses that did really well, were able to pivot quickly. find the right technology from different technology providers and get to market, get a website, get e-commerce. But I also love that you talked about, the mobile aspect, because in Europe, people use their phones so much. I think you guys have higher mobile usage even than in America, in terms of like interacting with businesses. And if you're at an agency and you're managing a bunch of businesses and helping them through this time, or if you are an SME or an SMB yourself, there are many things to look at. Is it best to get your website up? Is it best to get e-commerce? Is it best to get on a mobile app? Because that's how your customers like to interact with you. And so you need to think about these things and then also act quickly. I love that element of speed because things are moving so fast. And the opportunity here is that everyone was kind of knocked out at the same time. And so the winners were the ones who dove into the digital acceleration and the digital transformation, and then they did that as quick as possible. So thank you, Kimberli. So interesting. It's great hearing from what happened in Europe. Now we're going to dive into what's happening in Mexico with Miguel. So Miguel, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, and hello to all. So let me share with you guys the story here in Mexico. When COVID-19 hits Mexico, I think everybody was in, hey, it's going to be a couple of weeks, but a month passed and another month passed and the businesses are closing. The SMBs here in Mexico live day by day, so they don't have much cash flow, so they start closing. So we start seeing, even us as a marketing agency, our sales reps that are in the street, they are in their house, so we have to manage to do something to start to still get the sales for ADN. But the SMBs, many of our clients, well, they are doing things, and we start watching that the delivery guys that have the service, the clients that have a very nice website, they are doing things, they are putting up content, they are making videos, they are making a lot of things, but we are seeing many SMBs closing. So they have the need because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to go to create a website. They have only a Facebook profile to do business. So that's scary for them, and they need help.
And that's a big jump. So Miguel, you were saying that, most of the businesses in Mexico do not have a website. They have a Facebook page, but jumping that chasm to then get a website, that is a big digital transformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they are afraid to go to Wix or do-it-yourself platform because they don't know how to do it. So we have to change as a marketing agency. Our sales reps are closed down, so we start selling by Zoom. We start putting out their strategies for the SMBs. In order for them, if we pass to the next slide, please. So at the end of the day, we have to help them to create online classes and working for home and create delivery for these guys because they are closing. They are gonna lose everything because right now, as you know, there have been lots of months. We are in we don't know if it's red or orange. We don't know right now. So, but they are closed. So we have to create for them a very basic tool that they understand, and we do it for them to take care of the business, and we take care of the marketing. So for them it's very important. So we start thinking about medium businesses and the little guys, how we could help them. So the first idea was, hey, let's go to a bank. The bank have many businesses there. So we established a very interesting relationship with Banamex here in Mexico. It's a big bank. And we put the idea, hey, we have stores, let's create for your clients these stores very easily, very cheap, and very basic for them to start maybe with 10 or 15 products and start creating content for their clients, creating a way to grab a product for them. So we go there. with Citibanamex, and we create a landing page, and we create all these opportunities for the medium businesses. And we start like 3 months ago, and it's working. The program is selling very well. But we have also the little guys that maybe they are not prepared to do e-commerce, but they need something.
Yeah.
And to be in the mind of their clients. So we have a Sección Amarilla site that have like 5 million visits a month. So it's a source of traffic for them. So we start telling them, guys, come to the site, register for free, and we create for you a listing in the site and a very basic website for you guys. Very, very nice with pictures and things, and your information is gonna be there. And also you have a listing in Sección Amarilla. We have the traffic, so you're gonna have visibility for this time of the pandemic. So
yeah.
With that, and the program is, we have almost more than 2,000 businesses registered. And for them, it has been a big change. And we are talking with them. We are guiding them through the process, because right now they have a basic website, right now they understand that they need a website. They need a presence for times like this. So at the end of the day, we are guiding them in order to grow, in order to create e-commerce at the end, and to have the presence and to have a very nice website optimized for mobile and optimized for PC. And that's pretty much what happened here right now in Mexico.
And it's interesting because, this creates like a whole new market opportunity for people who have digital services like Sección Amarilla and ADN to help these businesses. But there's that same challenge at the same time that everyone from a financial standpoint is, pockets are tight because they've had to shut down their business. And so it kind of goes back to that speed factor of, if as a digital agency, you can help them get online and also help, you don't only have to help them get online, you have to educate them why and how, and then help them start doing commerce so that they can thrive and grow. But it's interesting that in Mexico, your guys' challenge was getting them to go from like the Facebook page, which before was fine because they were just going day by day. They didn't really need to conduct commerce online. Now to having that website, having that digital presence listed everywhere so that people can connect with them. Yeah.
Yes, that was the major change, because many of them don't believe in internet. They have the profile in Facebook. Maybe a nephew created, so they don't care about the internet. But right now, they see the value, they see the benefit, they see that is their business out there, always. Yeah. So I think that's a benefit from this, and for them it's a game changer. The guys that are doing it quickly, they are doing well,
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how COVID is just changing markets around the world and changing business models. So, I have a feeling that, obviously this is not going to go away anytime soon, but this is really going to be, the fastest digital acceleration. And we're seeing that. Kimberli talked about that in Europe. Everyone needs to know. They had a website, now it's like e-commerce, mobile marketplaces. Mexico, people had a Facebook page. Now it's, oh my gosh, I need a website. I need to be able to do commerce online. I need to be listed everywhere because now people are going to be looking for me to see if I'm open. They can't just walk over to the store. So we're seeing these shifts happen in markets across the world, and there's themes that are connected. And definitely one of the biggest one is that digital acceleration has happened faster than ever.
And the thing is, they need help.
Yeah.
We are helping them.
Help.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't know how to do it, and they need help, and they are very pleased to see the website and all the campaigns working for them. We have a team, we are experts. So go to your business, take care of them, and we take care of the marketing. That's the model right now.
I love that. And agencies are more important now than ever because the small business has so many challenges to deal with, just like pivoting their entire business model, retaining customers and conducting their business. So if you can partner up with an agency who can help provide and manage your SEO and your website and everything, it helps that you can stay focused on running your business.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Miguel.
Thanks to you.
Yes. Okay. So now we're going to dive into a conversation with Byron, and we're going to be exploring what's happening in South Africa. So Byron, over to you. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks again. It's a pleasure being on the show. So from a South African point of view, it's pretty much the same story that's happening in Mexico that's happening in South Africa. A lot of businesses do have a profile on Facebook, and they're starting to realize that regardless of how fantastic your Facebook page is, you need a website. Your business needs a website. So we're getting a lot more inquiries from customers to help them to build a website. We still also have the problem where clients are not savvy enough to build their own websites. So it's also that do-it-for-me sort of model that's happening in South Africa at the moment. With regards to COVID-19, we are in the middle of the storm, so to speak. We ranked number 5 in the world with regards to COVID infections, and it's just not stopping. So it's very difficult time for SMBs in South Africa. Our tourism industry is pretty much shut down. Airlines are not flying, and other industries that are allowed to do business, it's business unusual. Restaurants can't sell alcohol. Actually, our alcohol industry is shut down. So a lot of confusion in the market, and where to from here. If you look at our once thriving international tourism sector, it's pretty much dead. Our borders are basically closed to the world, and to a certain extent to South Africans. We are currently not allowed to travel for leisure purposes. That said, it's now open for domestic business travel under strict guidelines. And some positive news from government is that it looks like intra-provincial travel or intra-state travel is expected to open up soon, which basically means that South Africans will be able to travel for leisure purposes within one's own state or province.
So Byron, your lockdown sounds really extreme in that when it happened, everything was shut down, but people were even very restricted on movements. Like in America, you were supposed to kind of stay in your state, but people would travel around. But in South Africa, you said you had to have a paper to get places?
No, it wasn't that severe. We could go to the shops to buy groceries, and that was about it. But business was shut down. Curfews were in place. We weren't allowed to be out the house from between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. Okay. I think that's still the case at present, because we have a health system that doesn't work very well, and government needed to buy time to get to find solutions to our poor health infrastructure. And it sort of worked. We also opened up the alcohol industry not too long ago. And a few weeks ago, our president shut it down again because of alcohol-related incidences were taking up a lot of the beds in the ICU units. So that's been closed again. So there's a lot of changes that are happening on a daily basis, and it's hard to keep up. So again, it's important for SMBs to update their customers with regards to trading hours. Also, just to let customers know that they are open, and to highlight what products they're allowed to sell. So when the lockdown happened, a lot of the grocery stores weren't even allowed to sell toys. So it's the communication that had to happen. It was a lot of work for SMBs to cope with.
So it sounds like with these challenges, content and the right content creation and updating your hours and all that information became paramount and extremely important for the business.
Yes, absolutely paramount. And if you look at the hospitality industry, it's going to be opening up for interstate travel. for leisure travel in your state. You can only do some leisure travel in your state. So you're finding that a lot of hotels, bed and breakfasts are not used to targeting their facilities for local travel or for local customers. So all of a sudden they got to tell. I mean, locals understand where the big monuments are. They've been there, they've seen it. Now, locals want to know about the cool mountain biking trail, all the other facilities and points of interest that you have to offer. So they've had to like recreate content and paint a new sexy picture for local travel.
Well, I think that's really interesting. We haven't talked. We've talked about in Europe with the pet store example how they used to just focus on local, and now they can use e-commerce to focus on like a much larger scale. Where there's also a massive opportunity if you are a business that was more like a resort, where you would market to customers outside the country or people, in other areas that you wanted to travel to your destination. Now there's a huge local SEO opportunity for businesses to focus on their local market. I know in America, it's almost, we have a kid and we have a little bike for him and his tire popped and we could not get it fixed because all the bike tires are like sold out across America because everybody is like riding bikes and like hiking in the mountains. And there's like this crazy new demand for just like doing stuff locally around where.
Oops, we lost Amanda.
Well, it looks like she froze, but yeah, we're just talking about like that hyper local relevance, right? Right, Byron?
If I could, Byron, if I could make a comment to that the same thing, the two things that you said were very important because that happened in Europe was first the supply chain and the update on inventory and content because the borders were closed here, even in the European community. So the content was what, people didn't have the supplies they had. So they had constantly, the SMBs update their websites. And there is also this surge for local travel. And that means that, SMBs don't think about updating their website. They just think about, okay, they don't change the keywords. They don't understand SEO. They don't understand how content will drive people to find them. Very good point.
Yeah, we've got a lot of customers now spending a bit more budget on search engine optimization and like Christine said, more the hyperlocal side of things. But yeah, budgets are also a major concern with a lot of the SMBs. I mean, they haven't been operating for months. The times are very difficult. Money is very tight. So what we find is that a lot of customers are asking us, how do we market ourselves in a cost-effective way? And some of the simple solutions that we talk to them about is things like Google My Business, where they can be in control of their listing on Google. They can update their trading hours, almost on the fly. They can take advantage of putting out specials on the Google My Business platform. So what we're also finding is that although Google My Business is a great sort of medium for businesses to use and to work with, the knowledge is not there. When they go into that admin platform of Google, it's a little bit difficult and strange to navigate. So we find we have to hold their hands and we have to help them. And we're willing to do this. It's kind of like the goodwill, and we hope that we can reap the benefits later. But apart from just marketing and helping customers to market their sites like on Google, we also work with local directory partners like Rabies in South Africa. So we ensure that their information is not just 100% correct in Google, but also on the local sites where they get a lot of traffic. And that's working. That's working quite a bit. Yeah. I think, going on to e-commerce. E-commerce is really exciting now in South Africa. A lot of the big brands that had e-commerce never pushed it before. And what we're seeing is that a lot of the large corporates are pumping millions and millions of dollars into e-commerce at the moment. If you look at SMBs, a lot of calls that we're getting now are for smart websites that have a shop front, an e-commerce store, websites that can take online bookings. For, if you think of a hair salon, they want you to be able to book an appointment with your favorite hairstylist online. They'd like you to pay, pay via a payment gateway on your site. And also they want you to buy products, and not just buy the products once, but multiple times. So yeah, the biggest thing happening, the biggest accelerator that COVID has done is to push e-commerce in a big way. And we're getting a lot of queries, and like Kimberli said, there's also a lot of confusion to the small to medium businesses in South Africa, because it's one thing putting your products on a site, it's the payment, it's the delivery, and it's also, you got to take really, really good photos and to put onto your websites to make the products look appealing. There's a lot of education that needs to happen in the background, to get your products out there, to make it look sexy, so people can, would want to buy it.
Yeah, and are you see people kind of adopting this? Like, are people being enthusiastic about this digital acceleration, or is it just, are they kind of seeing it as more like a survival thing? They have to do this to survive? How is kind of the perception of this?
I think they're starting to understand that this is going to be the new norm. If you look at a lot of the big grocery stores in South Africa, they've seen phenomenal growth in terms of people purchasing grocery online. I mean, that's something I haven't done in all my life, is buy grocery online, because we have a store around every corner, and it's kind of like part of your lifestyle. You go and pick up stuff. But now you purchase online. A lot of these companies now deliver almost immediately or within a particular time frame to your front door. And people are also starting to realize that when you have a shop front, as we call it here in South Africa, it's opening up your products to a wider audience, not just to your local domain. So if you think of what Kimberli said around marketplaces, all of a sudden you're now part of something bigger that you weren't part of before. So we're seeing a lot of positivity coming out of it. I think from a government point of view, we're having new conversations. Because in a country like South Africa, data costs are very expensive, and governments are starting to sit back and to realize that we need businesses to continue operating during these times. So we need to have healthy conversations around the cost of data. We need to also have healthy conversations around infrastructure in rural areas, so that so the economy can be more inclusive. So these are kind of the positives that are happening in our market.
Yeah, Byron, just a comment. I think you were seeing those positives also, and I think Miguel said this is really, for me, it's a fantastic opportunity to help SMBs, and we, as digital agencies, we have to just make sure that we have the right information and listen to SMBs and listen to the needs, because the needs are going to be different, whether it's a product or a service. But it's a really good opportunity to work together with them today.
It is, and I think I was just looking at the slide that's on the screen at the moment. If you look at e-commerce, it accounts for such a small amount of retail sales in South Africa. So yes, Christine, to answer your question, I think it's here to stay. I think the next time we have another session, we'll see that e-commerce sales haven't just accounted for 1.6%. It's probably going to be jumping to 10, 11% in the near future. We're going to see more of the bigger brands spending a lot of money. We're going to see the SMBs coming on board. So yeah, I'm pretty positive that all the hard work that SMBs are going to be putting into their digital websites, it's going to pay off for them later on.
Yeah, you said something a minute ago that it was business unusual instead of business as usual. I love that, because that's kind of what I think we've seen worldwide, is that these SMBs have just had to completely pivot, but they're adapting and they're thriving because of it.
Yeah, and we're seeing some interesting things happening in South Africa. I think on the next slide, if we can move over, we've got car wash companies that are now coming to your home. So you can book a time slot online. They come, they wash your car. They're coming up with some innovative products like a COVID detox or COVID detail. We're even seeing a lot of agricultural companies are knocking on our doors asking for advice, because you have a lot of flowers, as an example, that's exported from Africa into Europe. And all of a sudden the planes aren't flying, so the flowers are just sitting there rotting. So they're looking at attracting a new sort of domestic market and are selling directly to customers. So it's interesting watching how companies adapt to the new normal.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Byron, for that. These have been such great insights that we've had from Kimberli, Miguel, and from Byron. So we're so grateful to have them. We've also got some good questions that are coming in. So we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, we want to head over to Mike and Colton for our actual SEO strategies for this week. And they're talking about international SEO. So it kind of goes right along with what we've been talking about. Yeah. So guys, over to you.
Well, we'll kick it off then. So yeah, talking about international SEO, essentially how you can potentially cross borders or rank in multiple countries, right? We all like to think that's a little bit simple, especially if we're kind of used to like a franchise or something like that, where you just simply have to create a page, or maybe you have to create a little bit of extra content to try to kind of get into a new area. When it comes to international, it's actually quite a bit more restricted, and that mainly is in the vein of kind of Google, who's kind of the dominant player there. And it's just mainly in how they actually serve their indexes and how they actually kind of categorize and separate things. So a good example here, which we get into our blog post here quite a bit, but just to touch on it lightly, is that if you're bouncing from one border to another, let's say in the United States, from Canada to, let's say, the United States, that's kind of an arduous process. It's not easy, right? It takes a few hours. You have to actually plan for it. If you're going south of the border to Mexico, it's the same, right? So border crossing is not necessarily as feasible or as easy. And so because of that, Google, within their algorithms, kind of packs this hard border kind of wall when it comes to recommending a local business. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means that you actually have to take quite a bit of other factors into play, and you have to kind of set up the website correctly to essentially play dual roles inside of different countries and subsequently inside of different indexes. So starting off here, the very first thing, if you are considering going into kind of international, Kimberli, I'd love to have some input here from you if you have anything to add as well. But essentially, when it comes to SEO, the big things that we see as kind of restrictive or that kind of tie your audience to either one country or the other really starts to come down to things like device type. Are they using a mobile phone? Are they using, a computer? Are they using a tablet? And those essentially open up the different search results that are obviously put out there from Google, but they also start to frame where you're potentially being pulled from as far as locale from Google. Which feeds right into our next one, which is location. And the location is kind of the bigger key factor here when it comes to Google, right? If they're able to find that your IP address, let's say, is in country A, there's no reason that they're potentially going to just mistake you and put you inside of country B, right? They've already framed this with their service. They made an update a few years ago to essentially infer your location, and then they automatically give you the index that they feel you should be in. So this is the example. If you're in the United States, you travel over to, let's say, the United Kingdom. In that instance, once you get to the United Kingdom and Google realizes you're there, they're going to switch your index from the US index to now the UK index. So they don't. It used to be if you set yourself to the US index, you were tied to that index until you manually went and updated it. Google has now done that, so it's easier for you, but it also makes it hard if you're trying to essentially set an audience, for yourself. The other bit that plays into this is query type. So is it informational? Is it transactional? Is it navigational? Essentially understanding how your users are actually trying to find you actually makes it easier for you to potentially understand what kind of search features you need to try to get yourself into. So the example here would be like educational, going video heavy, trying to maybe go a little bit blog heavy, so content heavy, definitely the right move, especially if you're trying to get users from another country, because that gets you into more search features, which means that there's more potential for exposure. However, if you're doing something more transactional, that may or may not be limited. We've talked quite a bit about e-commerce. In some cases, you can actually jump that border and you can kind of get everywhere. One of the prime examples here is like forklift sales. We don't really think about it, but there's only a few companies in the world that actually manufacture and create brand new forklifts. So for them, kind of getting that cross international exposure, really not that difficult as long as they have the content there. However, if we take something more basic, like let's say cell phone cases, that one is going to be a tougher sell because there's going to be a lot more people in individual markets actually competing for that. So your need to essentially create viable content and get into those search sections is going to be, even greater. And then obviously search language is another one. Take this one that we actually deal with quite frequently ourselves, which is like Swiss, right? So there's 4 different languages they cover: Swiss, German, French, one more, I think it's Finnish. Probably wrong on that one, but essentially they support a few different languages to varying degrees. That means that their user base actually is kind of split in how they search, and what they search with predominantly might be something more along the lines of like English. Sorry, that's the other one, not Finnish, English. So English may be the one that they actually use quite a bit for search results, but not necessarily for content or kind of the everyday conversation, right? So having your content or kind of knowing where your users are coming from content or language-wise also can help determine what kind of content is needed for your site. So as far as getting in those search results, I'll let Mike speak a little bit more, but
Yep.
Keep in mind before you even get there, if you need to know some of these other factors, so that way you can start hitting on the next bit that Mike's going to talk about.
Yeah, and I love when you're looking into international SEO that it's a combination of local SEO and national SEO, and you really have to take into account, like Colton said, what your purpose is, like what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to do, why you're trying to cross those borders. And then when you look at that, then you look at, okay, here's the strategy that I'm going to implement. So for example, the first one for the inclusion factors, domain. You need to make sure that your domain, it's called the top level domain, but it plays a very important role as far as where your business reach is going to be. So say, for example, we have down here on the bottom the generic top level domain and the country code top level domain. That's basically essentially you're looking at the end of your domain where it's a .ca or a .me or a .ie or a it's how you formatted your domain. Do you want it to be generic as far as .com or .net or .org or something along those lines, or do you want it to have a country code because you're just trying to include that country, you're trying to rank for that country? There's also, if you're trying to rank for a language, there's different strategies where you would potentially include it on a subdomain or you would include it on a subfolder, and you'd create essentially duplicate pages. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, but that goes into the URL structure. So you're having a dedicated page for your services and your languages that helps create a clear organization for search engines and users. And you can solve that issue by either doing the subdomain, doing the subfolder, translating that with the human, and not having the weird Google Translates that give you just weird grammatical errors. You want to make sure that you're doing that. And when you're doing that with a content language, you can either do it with a subdomain. You can have essentially duplicate pages of your top performing content, as long as you canonize your top level content with like an href language marker, where you're just saying, hey, this is just a translation of this page, and you're talking to a crawler. And so there's a lot of different strategies that come into play when you're looking at, okay, am I trying to rank for this country or am I trying to rank for this language? And this is how you would go about those two different things. Or if you're doing both, then you kind of roll out both strategies. And then the last two right here with the trust and the content context, we talked a little bit about content context, Colton did. This is very, very generic as far as SEO is concerned. It's the trust, it's how many backlinks you have, what's your authority within that site. If you have none, you need to build it up. And so you need to really be in that conversation, do that keyword research, and make sure that the content is worthy of ranking. And so building up that trust, as everyone in the SEO game tells you, it takes time. And so it's something that to get that organic traffic, you really got to think about it. And you got to do it. Same thing with international SEO. Got to build up that trust.
Just to add on to that, I mean, trust here, obviously, that you're hitting right on it. Quality is definitely a big part of that. But the need to have localized links is also important. You know, if you're trying to be seen as the authority in, country B that you may not be into, you will obviously need to have some credibility there, specifically from Google and obviously from external sources. in that country actually linking to you. So localized content, obviously on other platforms.
Yeah.
Mike's already hitting on it, going out and being part of that conversation in that area. A lot of franchises, especially once you start hitting that kind of global scale for SEO, this is where they oftentimes have teams dedicated to one whole area or even just an individual, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, they're just trying to create that expert who's in that area that is talking about whatever industry they're in that area.
So it's very general SEO as far as building backlinks with its own specific international twist, which is a lot of the international SEO. And if you look at it from a local or a national SEO campaign, that's kind of like it's all SEO with a twist, right? Like you've got to do the link building, but you've got to do it like this kind of thing. Just definitely be thinking ahead.
On SEO, can I just tell you a really quick funny story? Because if there's SMBs listening, this is the best story. About 8 weeks ago, I was Googling from Germany to find Paw Patrol face masks for my nieces, okay? And I was traveling to the States. So I found the Paw Patrol face masks, and it was a little shop in Connecticut, okay? And I found it from Germany, because their SEO was so great. They came right up on Google, and I ordered from Germany Paw Patrol face masks that then I shipped to New Hampshire. So
That's awesome.
it was amazing. So, I mean, when SMBs do the right SEO, it can bring customers from all over the world.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think it kind of goes into that content context where they've created either a landing page or they have the keywords for the Paw Patrol masks, and they're creating that page that is serving up that search intent that you wanted to find those masks specifically. And then they had the feasibility, like we've talked about with e-commerce, to be able to ship that over to your nieces. And so that's fantastic. It's a great win for SEO. I love hearing those stories, though, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of all that we had to say about international SEO. It's definitely a big subject, as all of the panelists have kind of mentioned. But it's something that it's SEO with a twist, and so it's definitely something that you got to be thinking about and strategizing for.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add before moving on here to questions is in the SMB space, right, or SME space, when you're considering going international, really kind of ask yourself, are you doing everything and have you done everything you can locally? It's the way I would always frame it first. We're hearing some accounts already where, local is kind of the new opportunity. So, again, shore up your local, make sure you're really tight in kind of where you are physically, and then kind of expand outward. Trying to go a little bit too early honestly means that you're going to end up coming back to kind of shore up your locals. So do that first. Start reaping that benefit right now, and obviously in the long term, and use that to fuel your future endeavors.
Awesome. Well, thanks to Colton and Mike, our in-house local SEO experts. They're always bringing the awesome knowledge, so thanks to them. Now we're going to go into Q&A. Amanda's having a couple technical difficulties, so I'm going to lead the discussion from here through the end of the show. So I've got a couple questions that I'm going to send to all three of our panelists, Kimberli, Miguel, and Byron, just to kind of get your perspective from your own countries. One is just as SMBs move towards e-commerce and, kind of this new normal or business unusual. I love that, Byron. I'm going to keep using it. Have you seen a decrease in other marketing spend and other marketing opportunities? Like, is traditional marketing going down just because people aren't necessarily out? How are you seeing that development and that evolution? Kimberli, I'll start with you.
I can start because I answered the question and I didn't know I was supposed to. Okay, so of course, the biggest marketing that's gone down is event marketing. Because you can't bring people together. Okay, that's clear. Okay, and this has taken an extreme downturn, and I don't think it's going to come back for a while. As far as print, and I think the question had also print in it. Yes, but Europe has been less in print for a long time. Okay, so in the print-heavy countries, which would be Germany, Austria, Switzerland. There has been, if you follow some of the media, Axel Springer and some other big companies, you'll see there has been a decrease. But I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to meet its level, but other marketing, I really can't think of anything. I think, I think of event, print, and digital, and we have outdoor here in Europe, which is quite big. Not that big, but that's gone down also. But I think it's the event marketing that's been really hit.
Okay.
I think from a South African point of view, we've seen some major publishing houses discontinuing a number of magazines. So a lot of magazines have stopped operating permanently. Just driving around, you don't get handed flyers, as many flyers as you were given in the past every time you stop at a set of traffic lights. That's definitely on the decrease. We have a lot of billboards in South Africa. The spend definitely dropped tremendously. As people are now returning back to work, we can start to see the billboard guys making a lot more noise, trying to tell people that there's more cars on the roads and they should be advertising. So that seems to be working a little bit. But the biggest casualty was definitely the magazines in South Africa.
Here in Mexico, traditionally, the SMBs do flyers, a lot of flyers locally in their municipalities. So you don't see that as much right now because they are seeing that Google My Business works very well. A webpage works very well. So they are changing. The main challenge for them, I think, is the creation of content. So we are focusing on that for create content for them in order to put it out there for their clients.
Great. Thank you all for your insight. I've got one more question and then we'll wrap up. But this, again, for Byron, Kimberli, and Miguel, just kind of SMBs everywhere are strapped for cash. That's something that we've seen across every storyline. What do you see as some of the new costs that are associated? Do they need to focus more on marketing, or should they focus on e-commerce, or should they focus on developing their store for when we do reopen? What are some of the costs that they should focus on?
Well, I think they have to focus on put it together first and to reinvent the new rules for their business because it's hard. I own a gym and we start operations in January, so we are closed since then. So you have to change. You have to go there and do classes online and do many things that you don't plan it. So I think that's the first thing. You have to plan to create a strategy within your business and okay, this is the new normal and we have to create a web page, a very nice web page. But first you have to have the content and we have to create the content. So I think there are many things, but they have to focus on the creation of content first, and then go to the website and go to the e-commerce to present a nice looking product or a nice looking website. I think that's the main things first. Create the rules, reinvent themselves, and go out there.
Yeah, I think Miguel said it perfectly. I think that businesses must keep talking to their customers, keep learning, keep evolving, spending more money on digital. It seems to be working. More and more people are spending more time at home on their PCs. They're searching before they're buying. So make sure that the content and how you present your products and services stand out from the crowd.
Great. Kimberli, any final thoughts on that?
I would say retention and loyalty. I think we all know what a new customer costs to bring in. And I think right now in these times, and I think Byron just said that in a different way, that retaining those customers is most important, and how you do it and what channel is through content or through emails or whatever. And once you feel pretty secure in that retention and loyalty, then you start to build the new customer base.
Great. Okay, well, that wraps it up for questions. We've got a couple others, but we're running out of time. So I will reach out to those people individually and make sure we still get an answer. So thank you again to Kimberli and to Byron and to Miguel for their awesome insights. These are some of the resources that they've provided for us. We'll post this on our own Boostability website. It's boostability/search-sessions. So you can find all of this as well as additional resources from our panelists. So once again, thank you guys for your expert advice and insights and all of that you provided today. It's been so awesome to hear from you. And then tune in next time. So in 2 weeks, I'm so excited to announce on August 5th, we are going to have a guest from Google here on Search Sessions talking to us about monetizing your website, essentially. His name's Joseph Fitzer. He's a strategic partner manager, online partnerships group from Google. And SMBs, or pretty much everyone right now, is really working on trying to figure out ways to monetize to increase their revenue. One of the best ways to do it is through your website. So Joseph's going to be talking to us about the digital acceleration, like what we've talked about today, and how you can do that for your website and then increase the monetization of that. So we'll talk about AdSense and Ad Manager and all of that. So please tune in next time. You can register on our website. And then, as always, if you need help with your SEO, we're here to help. You can visit us at boostability.com or call us on the phone number right there. And then you can rewatch this session. We'll have it posted this afternoon, as well as all of our other search sessions, and then register for our upcoming show. So once again, thank you to everyone who's participated today, and hope to see you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.